All right, so the name of the class is Choke Theory, featuring the rear naked choke. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just say rear naked choke class? Because it's not really about the rear naked choke. The rear naked choke is just the choke I'm going to use to illustrate my points. I'll probably do some other, and actually I should say strangle, right? Because choke is hitting right here, and strangle is arteries, but I'm going to say choke because most of us say choke anyway. The main difference in how I approach strangulations and chokes versus other people is going to be that I have a very heavy focus on stillness versus squeezes. So a lot of people are like, you need a really strong squeeze, and they're not wrong. A strong squeeze is important, but I'm going to say instead of using our muscles and fatiguing them, and by squeezing really, really, really hard, and then we gas, we're going to get our arms to a position of structural security so that we can be in an efficient position. So a position that we can stay in for ideally minutes, and then we're going to maintain it. All right? So first, a little bit of background. So why did I make the difference saying strangle versus choke? In my opinion, when I'm attacking the neck, there are kind of four things I can go after. May I have a neck? I use you, because I know you. All right, so there's kind of four things that I can do, right? So I can attack his trachea or his hyoid bone right here. I can try and crush that. So anytime you catch like a low guillotine, you're smashing in here, right? So I'm hoping that the pain of this will make him give up. And if he's a crazy person, he might let me really injure him, and then he has to go to the hospital. I've seen it happen before. It's horrible. I personally don't like that. I don't like sending people to the hospital. I feel really guilty about it. Next is the classic strangle, cutting off these two arteries. This is going to be the main one that we focus on today. The next is I want to cause flexion in either these muscles or tendons where I'm doing a neck crank, right? We've all seen those, or the famous one where they take the jaw and like Conor McGregor style, right? And then the last one is a positional asphyxiation. That's when I'm turning his body in such a way that his lungs can't feel anymore. So for me, those are the four things that I'm doing whenever I'm doing a choke or a strangle. Generally speaking, you're going to do a couple of those things. Very rarely do you have a perfectly clean one that's just one. There are ones that are just neck cranks, but usually when you're going for a strangle, you might accidentally get a little bit of crank, a little bit, right? So those are the categories. So then now into what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to focus on hooks. Are hooks good? Hooks are great. But right now, I'm going to focus just on what I'm doing with my hands because, like I said, this is about theory. So what makes strangles special? If I were to armbar you, you can see it, and I do kind of half of an armbar, right? I set it up. I'm right here. It's half of an armbar. I can sit here for minutes, maybe hours. His arm is never going to magically break, right? He's never going to be like, you know what? He's been here for a while. I just tap. No, his arm is it's fine, it's safe. Almost armbarring him will never magically become armbarring him. Same thing with leg locks, everything else. The magical thing about strangulations are I can do a mediocre choke where right now, you're cool, right? I'm not really choking you, I'm doing it very hard. But if I sit here long enough, eventually he still backs out. Now, it's not gonna happen in 2 or 3 seconds, but if I sit here long enough, right now I did this very light, oh yeah, there we go. Long enough, but notice that I didn't change. I was using no effort, I wasn't squeezing. There's just 2 hoses. And with a hose, if I kink the hose, the flow of liquid is going to slow. Well, there's a magical amount of oxygen that he needs in his brain to remain conscious. And once I slow the flow, that number that he has in his brain is dropping. If I stay still long enough, it drops to the critical point, and he sees the lights turn to dim, and he taps. Or he doesn't, and he passes out. This is very unique. It's very different. Most of us, what we've learned for our chokes is that we get everything perfect, and we squeeze 100%, right? And we get a tap. But you saw how much energy I did. You saw me flexing, and my arms are tired. Go ahead and put one arm in for me. So what usually happens in a match is that he's fighting back, and I'm fighting, and I'm going, ah! And he can feel me. He can feel my arms quivering and shaking, and he feels that I'm going to tire out. And so what does that do? That gives him motivation. He's like, oh, okay, he's almost tired. And so he's going to hang on for dear life, waiting for that moment when my arms fatigue, and then he's going to rip out, and my arms are jelly, and he's going to punish me for what I've just done to him. So I'm proposing a different methodology. This methodology is we are not going to squeeze anything, especially not going to try and chop their head off. Everyone does this, but if you look and trying to chop his head off, my elbows are moving further apart. So the hole between my arms is actually getting bigger. So I'm actually making my choke less effective when I try and chop his head off. And you're all like, but I choke people that way. And of course you do, because you pour all this extra energy to make an inefficient squeeze functional. And so I'm not saying that how you've learned your chokes is wrong. It's not wrong, it works. You've tapped people out with it. It just requires conditions to be almost perfect. And I'm saying with simply focusing, and this is the rear naked choke, I can show you whatever choke you want later with your Q&A, but on the rear naked choke, we're gonna try, the very first thing we do, our partner's gonna let us have an ideal face. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go all the way across to right here. And actually, I learned this from Gary Tonin at his seminar. It was actually a footlock seminar. I had like a random aside, like, you're good at rear naked chokes, how do you do it? And he did this for like 5 minutes, and I kept it. I call this the Macarena rear naked choke. You remember the old dance in the 90s, right, the Macarena? You put your hands like this. This is the exact position of your arms. I'm serious. Everyone's like, but this, no. Macarena. Do the Macarena on your arms. And this is exactly, notice what happens when you do the Macarena. Your elbows are close together. What matters are close elbows. If my elbow's open, I'm helping him breathe. I want my elbows close together. So if you're confused about what you're doing, literally just do the Macarena, and this is what you want. So I'm here, right? Granted, I don't like this either because it's going to help him grab it. Sliding it in is better, but if you get confused, just do the Macarena. So I'm here, I have my hand here on this shoulder, I put this hand here to my other shoulder. I don't bother with this, because see, my elbows are open. And then from right here, all we're going to do is put our head forward, kind of shimmy my butt back a little bit. I'm going to push my chest and sit still. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to count to 10 slowly. Right? Also, don't tap yourself, tap your arms. Because then I might not notice that if it was loud in here. All right? But notice how most of you guys probably would have moved around 3 seconds. I've noticed the attention span of a jiu-jitsu person is about 3 seconds. Whatever choke I'm having, put one hand in, I'll do it for about one. I guess I'm doing it wrong. And that's going to keep happening. Every time I readjust, he's getting a new clock. I'm alive. I'm alive. So even if for any choke you're doing, you should be able to hold it still for 10 seconds. If you can't, your choke is inefficient. So you're going to go, you're going to get a partner. All you're going to do, your partner's going to let you under their neck this time. You're going to come all the way across. You're going to put your hand on your own shoulder. You're going to put your hand here. You're going to slide your butt back so that your chest is forward. If you're reclining, this is going to be a lot harder. Slide your butt back. Don't worry about your hooks for right now. It's not important right now. And all you're going to do is put your face forward and sit up straight, like your teacher said, sit up straight in school, and just don't move. If after 10 seconds, say that I just really loose, I messed up, after 10 seconds, it didn't work, think about the checklist. All right, I need my elbows close. Oh, that's what I did wrong. Elbows close. Hands here. Good. Back straight. And then 10 more seconds. So notice, it's taking me longer to finish it. I don't care. I want to, because I want to be able to choke everyone and not get tired. Because I visit a lot of gyms. If I choke one person with 100%, I'm going to choke weaker the next time. And by the time I get to person 20, my arms are jello and I'm useless. So all you can do, get with your partner. 1, 2, 3, face forward, back straight, don't move for 10 seconds. That's the deal. Questions? All right, we're going to clap here because I'm not Estonian. Ready? So 1, 2, 3. All right, so now what we're going to do is to introduce why I think this is cool, right? So most of the time when people are teaching rear naked chokes, they're very big on the hand fighting part of it, right? So like say that we're here and his chin is down, right? There's a million little tricks of getting the chin out of there. I got to pick it up. And what I'm going to say is just don't care about his chin. Because his chin isn't doing as much as he thinks it is. So by putting his chin down, it's allowing him to make sure that his chin is going to outlast my biceps. So if his chin is down, whether I'm here or here or not, if his chin is down, I will get tired before he blacks out. But what if I don't get tired? What's going to happen is his face is only so strong. So even with his chin down, I'm not actually going to neck crank him. What's going to happen is his chin is going to compress, and the pressure of his chin compressing is going to add to the blockage of the arteries, and he's still going to black out. And so I'm going to ignore the chin, and I'm still going to do a blood choke. Now, mind you, you can always, I'm not saying neck cranks are bad. I love neck cranks, but they're often illegal. And I don't like getting disqualified. So yes, you could tuck up your chin. I could totally do this, or do the catch wrestling face crank. All of these brutal things are perfectly fine and fun. But if my goal is, I don't care how tough you are, I need you to tap, I need to make you black out. Because there's guys out there and girls out there that are just too tough for their own good, and they'll let you break them, and I don't like having that on my conscience. I prefer just to have you take a quick nap, I wake you up, and then we're all happy friends, all right? So this time you can have your partner purposely put their chin down. You're not going to remove their chin. You're going to get your hand all the way across the same position. Try sideways again so they can see. Now something that you guys, I think what's happened to a couple of you guys, is that your hips were really close, right? And you're like, yeah, hips are close is good. Yes and no. The problem with having my hips too close is that when I start choking him, it's leading to me kind of reclining. And when I'm reclining, the alignment of our heights is going to get off sometimes. And so oftentimes what will happen is that I'm here, he has his chin in, and now my head's actually a little too high. So I can't apply my force the way I want to with my hips, so now all I have left is my arms, and my arms are going to get tired. And so he's going to escape. And so that's why I'm going to have to break this down to get in there. But I've met people who just, they're not going to move. They're going to sit there like a dog with a bone, and they're never going to move that chin. And so I'm going to recommend leaving like kind of 3 to 6 inches of like space between your hips and their hips. This is going to allow you to lean forward. By leaning forward, when I straighten my back, this angle that I have is going to make me very sturdy. This also, I saw you were on your feet. Also another good thing. So the cool part about this submission is that I don't need my hooks. So like Gary Tonan's kind of sadistic. So what he used to do in his competitions, before he became a leg lock specialist, when he was choking everybody, what he would do is he'd catch his rear naked choke, and they would purposely take his hooks off to give you false hope. And you get excited and you start running and you rise forward and it's over, you black out. And the crazy thing about this is that the angle of how you're holding it is so tight that even if you flail or stand up, I don't fall off. You just black out. I've been both a giver and receiver of this technique, and so on both ends it's horrible. Because I remember I had a person, and they were on my back. I'm like, oh, I'll just tripod and they'll fall off. I tripoded, and they were still there, and I was like, whew. So it's a really cool thing. So his chin is down. I'm leaving space 3 to 6 inches between my hips and his hips. I'm putting this right here, hands as far as I can. In this situation, because of his chin's in there, I might not get to my own shoulder, but it's okay. I just care that my elbows are as close as I can get them. Right now, they're pretty far, but they could be worse. So I'm getting as close as I can get them. I have the ability to lean forward. My face is forward as well, to kind of stop him from taking my hand out, puff my chest out, and then remain. It's gonna take longer this time. I'm just gonna remain. Right? And so, was I breaking your jaw? No. Right? So it looks like his chin's in, you must protect. No. But the hard part about this is that all of us fall prey to impatience. Now mind you, when he's defending, I'm going to be using my muscles to stop him breaking my grips, which is why as I'm doing it, I'm using my face to hide my hands. So here's my hands, here's my hands. There's a hand behind here, he's not going to get to that one. This is the hand he might get to, but my face is covering it. My face is covering all this stuff. If I'm here, go ahead and grab my hand out. Like, not that one, but like peel. Yeah. He can do this and peel that out because there's a gap for it. My face covers it now. Now he can't pull it out. Right? And so he can't reach over because my chin is like forming a lock. Yeah, no for you. And so then, but you notice I've already started bad habiting. I'm trying to chop his head off. And so every time I have 10 seconds, go through a checklist. Are my elbows together? No, they're not. Okay, elbows together. Is my back straight? No, it's not. Okay, now my back's straight. Is my face hiding? Good. 3 things. Elbows, face, back. And I sit still. Right? And every single time you do this, a piece of you inside is going to be like, crap, I did it wrong. Fight that voice in your head. The hardest part about this approach to choking people is having little like inner conversations with the voice in your head that's just like, you did it wrong, stupid. Like, no, I'm good, we got this. So like, you're gonna have to fight with the little voice in your head. That's gonna be the hardest part. Your body is doing really simple stuff. And all I've asked you literally to do is just hold your elbows together and don't move. But sitting still is hard. Just fight the voice in your head and you got this. So this time, repeating the process, but with a chin down. All right? 1, 2, 3. All right. So this is a really good question. The jaw. So you mentioned really wisely that like, ooh, that can't be good. That you felt like the pressure was here on the jaw, and so you're not being choked.
Yeah.
And you'd be 100% right if I was squeezing with my arm, but I'm not. My arm is simply acting like a rope. Right? Like ropes don't have muscles, but they still choke a lot of people, or they have throughout history, right? All right, so I'm not using my arm like this and flexing it. My bicep is actually not engaging. As I'm here, I'm simply pushing my elbows together. If your chin was like that, I'd actually go underneath, so you drop it down so that it would stay stuck. So I'm here, like so. My arm is simply right here, and this is here. My chest is where all the pressure is coming from. I move my butt back a little bit, I push my chest forward, right? And this is where it's happening. My chest on his back is where all the drive is happening. My arm is simply just sitting there, right? And so if I'm lazy, like I made a mistake, I left my elbow too close, close it up, and we'll continue, right? And so the key part about this is just maintaining consistent pressure. And it is going to take a while because there's a chin in the way. Right? You never felt a pinch here, right? I was never pinching your jaw. I'm not trying to do this. I'm simply letting my hand wrap around it and then using this as a secure point, using this to close off the artery with my elbow. So if you look, my elbow is closing off that artery right behind his jaw. This elbow is coming in and doing that. Now, mind you, I don't even necessarily need that because you've seen guys like Marcelo Garcia is famous for doing that, one-armed rear naked choke right here. It's the same thing. Is he really crushing with one arm? No, he's closing this hole. One thing I do with all my chokes is I'll make the shape in the air, and then I'll see what my finishing mechanic is doing. So the classic rear naked choke, here's the shape in the air. My finishing mechanic is not actually closing the hole at all. That's a problem. But now, this is closing the hole. One arm rear naked choke, there's a hole, close it. So a good exercise on any choke that you're doing, if it's just an arm choke or even a leg choke, triangle. I want to close the hole. Well, some people do this and pull this down. Does that actually change all that much? Not really. This does. Hitting that angle definitely closes the choke. Pulling this down definitely closes the choke. Pulling this down doesn't close the choke, it just breaks my own ankle. So it's a little heuristic you can do on anything that you're doing that involves making a hole smaller. Just do it in the air, look at it, right? Darce. I want to make the hole smaller. No, that doesn't. Oh, look, this hole's smaller. Okay, flaring my elbow in. I have an idea. Yeah? So continue, just make sure we're not breaking jaws. So we'll continue very shortly, and then we'll move on to the last bit of the rear naked choke, I guess curriculum-ish, but it's this example, this expression of this concept, and then we can analyze all kinds of other chokes, maybe the arm triangle, darce, whatever you guys want, but the main purpose of this is this concept. The rear naked choke is simply the main example. Yeah? 1, 2, 3. All right, on this one with the chin down, obviously there's going to be some people who won't get this choke today, and that's fine, because like I said in the beginning, this isn't about teaching you to do rear naked chokes. If at the end of this class you still can't rear naked choke anybody, I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as you have understood this change in paradigm. Maybe you're a guillotine person, maybe you're a loop choke person or a collar choke person, maybe you have a different choke that you like. What I want you to be able to do is to examine any choke that you're doing or strangle that you're doing and try to make it that whatever you're doing is comfortable for you to maintain for 10 seconds. So a very important thing, if I've told you to do something and it's uncomfortable, then don't do it. Because you won't be able to be uncomfortable for 10 seconds. You're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to fidget. And when you fidget, they're going to breathe, and when they breathe, they're not going to tap. So if doing this hurts, then back it off to here. This is comfortable. It's not as tight. It's going to take longer, but you're going to be able to maintain it. In the case of someone who's really tall, right? I'm here, I can't reach his neck. I have two choices. I can bring him down, or I can come up. But you want to have yourselves being the same height as the person. So we're going to do the very last one, but we're going to do it quickly. So the last example, I've already said, is this is kind of like your, on this particular application of the concept is like your, like your graduation. This is your partner's going to do everything they can to escape. So you're going to give them one hand and their chin, and you should still be able to not get tired and eventually choke them. Now, mind you, it doesn't always work. Sometimes they escape, but you should be putting very little effort, and they should be exhausted after this. He should be tired from trying to survive, and you should be fine and happy. And then you can transition into an arm bar or whatever else if you want, or you can just hold it and chill. Especially, this is great for early matches, right? So it's a minute into a 5-minute match. I could go all out, and now I'm jello armed for the rest of the match, and he gets out and kills me. Or I win, so I'm flipping a coin. Or I can come in here and I can take my time, squeezing about 50%. All right, and like I said, I'm using the lower back, so I'm purposely using a bigger muscle, more efficient, but even using the classic squeeze, right? So say I'm doing this gable grip one, right, which you see a lot of people doing. So I can apply the same concept through my gable, so I'd be toes under. I'm doing this gable grip rear naked choke, right? On this exact same one, I can squeeze less, right? I'm not squeezing 100% such that I can keep this, and I can just maintain this at 50% squeeze until he taps out, right? If I go 100% squeeze, as hard as I can, and I fail, crap, I'm tired. But I can also do other things. I can add my back. Says, can I? Yes, now my back is helping with the same grip, right? So what did I do? I took a conventional, right? This is Fedor's favorite. If you watched old Pride, Fedor would kill everyone with this. But you looked at his face, he looked like he was going to murder someone. All right? Because he was using every ounce of him to finish it, which is perfectly fine. But I can do this halfway. And I keep this elbow flared in, and I can still accomplish all the same goals. Same thing could be an arm triangle, everything else. So you don't have to do the Macarena rear naked choke. It was just the one that I like to teach with this. But you can do your rear naked choke, but simply now find in your rear naked choke where your place that you can hang out for 10 seconds is, and apply it your way. So for this next drill, you have two choices. You can use your version of the rear naked choke and try and accomplish this, or you can use mine, or you can use anything. You can use somebody else's. You can look at a neighbor, oh, I like his. That's fine. But the exercise is, he has his chin down, and he has a hand in. He has one hand in, whichever one he wants. And you're going to accomplish the same feat if you can. Right? So I'm here. I have the ledge, and I have this. It's my job to advance myself to a position where I feel strong. I'm going to let him do whatever he wants to escape, and I'm going to hang out. All right? Now notice, what did I do? I hid my eyes, because I didn't feel like getting poked in the eye. And I also hid my hands. Part of why I do this, like in my journey of jiu-jitsu, I've trained at kung fu schools and all kinds of places where they're like, but what if they poke you in the eye? I'm like, all right, I guess I'll try. I'm sitting here like this. Because I want to make sure that things work, because jiu-jitsu is a martial art, and it is realistic that someone could panic and poke you in the eye. Well, then just make your eyes not be there. So that's the next little drill. Same thing, you're going to give your partner their chin and their arm, and you can do whatever version of this that you want. But all I care about is that your squeezing mechanic is squeezing soft enough that I can squeeze for 10 seconds, maintain at the end of 10 seconds, make minor adjustments, rinse and repeat. If you're doing that, I'm very happy. You don't have to use my version of the choke, but please try to use that heuristic of how to squeeze. Even if you're using what I might call inefficient muscles, I don't care. If I can squeeze with my biceps, but if I'm squeezing light enough, my biceps don't fatigue. He's not going to tap, but then I can switch to, when I feel good, I can switch to squeezing hard again. You know, it's adjusting your power output. So go ahead, 1, 2, 3. We've got 10 minutes left. We can go one of two directions. So either I'm going to show just another random choke that I like, or if someone has a favorite choke or a choke they have problems with, I can gladly try and diagnose it for you guys. So we can go one or the other. Oh, hand up.
I have a problem with anaconda choke.
Anaconda choke. Oh. I'm going to actually let Mario do that because he's teaching an entire seminar on that. And so I'm not going to steal his thunder on that. But I will do the darce, which is like the cousin of the anaconda. And I'm much better at that one. Because I feel like I have answers for that, but he has better answers because that's his move. I like the darce better. I promised I would choke somebody else.
Somebody else, I have a question.
Okay.
When you got back, if I have somebody's back and they put me on my back, what's the best way to finish off the choke? Do I just turn the side?
So you have a couple of choices there. So now we have two things to do. So I'll go over both of those things. Who wants to be the new neck? All right. All right, so we'll start. I love darce, so I'll finish with darce. I'll start with this because this is right in line. There's a lot of options. I actually really liked what you were doing. You were doing the butterfly from back, which is actually really cool. Personally, the thing that I always care about in those situations is our relative heights. I want to act like I'm that annoying kid brother who's like trying to photobomb the picture. That for me is the perfect height. Something else that I do occasionally is I use my chin like a hook on his shoulder. If I'm hooking his shoulder with my chin, I'm automatically at the right height, unless my head is like a foot longer than his head. Generally speaking, if I hook his shoulder, that's where I want to be. So, we'll start from drop your chin down like we did last time, hand in, like you know. Okay, cool. So I'm here. In this situation, I wouldn't do it because he has both wrists, and I don't have my ledge. With no ledge, I would just do something else. I need to then hand fight. To at least at a minimum, I need my ledge. Right? If I'm gonna go for this, I need you're familiar with the word terminology, right? The ledge, when you have your hand on their shoulder. So I need the ledge. So that's one thing. But so I have my ledge. He has his hand in, cool. Or you can even be more realistic. You can have a better grab. There we go. And so what happened was he kicked himself backwards on top of me, right? And now I'm on that. And you're right, because from here, he has hands so everyone can see me. He has the ability with his legs to mess our alignment up. He can throw himself over my head, like kick really high. Oh no, that works too. Yeah, like this. Or now I'm too short to finish it. This is back. Or also he can try and slide up the bottom. Right? He can slide away. And now I'm too far away to finish it this way. So what I have to do is either by using my hooks or using my butterflies, I can try and keep him where I want him. If I want to choke how we're choking in class today. The other option that I have is one that I always forget the name of it. I think that the 10th Planet guys call it the Abyss, I think that's what they call it, because they have awesome names for techniques. It's like, they really do. What they do is they'll switch from this grip to a gable, and they'll drive their elbow into their sternum and change this into a positional asphyxiation. And they'll actually come out to here and do this. So what I'm doing, I'm digging my elbow into your sternum and making it so that you can't breathe. So what I would say, if I'm going to combine something that actually, like, I just kind of stole from you, because you did them, like, that was cool. So I'm here, I have this in, and I'm trying to he gets on top of me. Right? I just want us, our heads to be aligned. If I can keep our heads aligned, then I can use hooks, or a body triangle if I'm one of those guys, and I can just keep trying to do what I'm doing as long as our heads are aligned. This only becomes a problem for me if we lose alignment. So I personally would roll to the side of, I'm going to turn this side up, roll away from the camera. I would roll to the side of the choking hand. Kind of see how my head was up here? I'm ducking down to get our heads the same height, and then I would do the same thing from on our side. I can finish here, or we can do the cool thing, which is we bump to here and we sit back up. Which I thought was incredibly novel and brilliant. So from here, we then have choices of using what we wanted to, or I have the freedom in my legs to drop them into this, which is just one of my favorite names for technique. All right, so that would be my answer to that. Maintain our relative heights, yes?
Is that a crank at the end?
It's actually not a crank. It's a positional asphyxiation. However, in IBJJF, they're going to disqualify you because they're afraid of things that look weird. I'm not cranking. What I'm doing is I'm bending his sternum so that his lungs can no longer expand to take in oxygen. It was at category 4, that positional asphyxiation. And so, yeah, so you take your elbow. Actually, if you look at Pablo Popovich, he famously does this on all his rear naked chokes. He'll take a rear naked choke and he'll drop his elbow like so. And so he's doing both. He's choking and crushing. The Planet guys just, they don't care about choking at that point. They're just trying to positionally asphyxiate and drop you into that hole. But they're both actually legal. It's just, because you're not cranking, but a ref might think that you are. And if they do, they're going to disqualify you. But you shouldn't be actually attacking their neck at all in a crank.
You can't have your hooks in when you're doing that.
It's going to be hard because maybe if you're like one of the super good yogis earlier, then you can like properly fold. But I'm not, so I'm going to need to be up here if I'm going to bend forward. But if you've got your yoga like on super point, you might be able to do it from your hooks. That's not happening for me. I need to have my toes under to do that. Cool. So next is going to be the darce. So my favorite thing about using the darce this way is that everybody gasses their arms on the darce. It's a really common feature of people who darce choke is gassing their arms. I don't. Well, I don't anymore. This changed my game because I had a what's it called? Metamorphs Challengers match that was 10 minutes long, and I had this guy in a darce for 6 of those minutes, and he did not tap. It was very demoralizing. He just kept on surviving because I did what everyone else does. I squeeze, 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 squeeze for 6 minutes. And eventually he got out and my arms were jello and it was not a good day for me. So I'll just do a classic darce from, I'll just start in side control. Half guard. So I'm here. All I care about in this situation is getting past. So actually, everyone should be on this side. No, what's going on over here isn't important. Action's over here. So what do I need to do with Darce? I need him to be at least attempting an underhook or to be silly enough to just open this up for me. I don't trust that most of my opponents are just going to be like, yay, choke me. So usually it's dealing with the underhook. So I come through to right here. I'm a really big fan of this 3-finger grip. I used to be all Gable all day, but I've been converted. I take the 2 fingers around my thumb, my index and middle finger around my thumb, and I make what's called a 3-finger grip. And as you saw, you looked at his arm. The second I did that, his arm started falling because it's a very powerful grip. And I never want to let my wrist bend. I want a sturdy wrist. So I come into here, like so. I sprawl out. That allows me to pass. Then from right here, I'm going to suck this in and come to here. Now here's where it gets into the same concept. I'm not going to squeeze my biceps at all. I'm simply going to grab my tricep, come right here, and now I have a stable position to squeeze from. I'm going to get up on my toes, and I'm going to, I can do it from my knees or I can do it not, because off my knees I'm adding gravity. But if you haven't done your panther poses in yoga, it's going to be hard. So you're here, all I'm going to do is shrug my shoulders. And I get a tap. So I've changed my choke. Instead of it being about these biceps and squeezing like this where they're going to get exhausted, I made it about shrugging. I don't lift weights often, but you can lift a lot more weight like this than you can like this. Because this joint has a very small range of motion. And you could also add other things, right? You can puff your chest out and do all that as well. But I found just shrugging seems to get the job done for me. I like pouring it on with larger people. I'll be here. I'll also do this because now my weight is on there as well as I shrug. And I have lots of success with this version of the Darce. But I'll follow the same metric. I shrug and I maintain for 10 seconds. If I don't get it, I begin to analyze what's going on. I find the gaps, make a small adjustment, and rinse and repeat. The same way. But since it's a lot of steps, I'm going to start it from easiest. We'll imagine we're here. We'll imagine that he turns in. So I don't want you guys to have to deal with that. 1, details not screwing it up. On all your chokes, if you compromise your wrist, people are going to get it. If you do a collar choke with a wrist like this, you're not choking anybody. Straight wrist. So this is a neutral wrist. This is your minimum. I personally prefer mountain wrists where you like flexing. Or like, I don't know, any analogy, but whatever analogy that works for you guys. But flexed wrist, right? So I want my wrist flexed. So I'm through right here. I have my wrist through here, and it should be not, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what everyone does. It doesn't work. I need to flex my wrist. It's flexed over top. I come through here, and now I want my chest to be, right now, see his arm, actually, yes, you can't see. I'll turn around so you guys can see. So if you guys see that my knee is on this side of his arm, that's bad. I'm going to move it to the other side of his arm. Now his arm is in the arm triangle, because the Darce is an arm triangle. Then, from here, I'm going to add weight to drive my shoulder into his armpit. Here's the weight. And then I shrug. All right? Now that one, I am using effort, but using a very efficient muscle. So that would be my answer for the Darce. So I believe I'm out of time. I don't want to be... Actually, is there another class after this, or what's going on next? Oh, beautiful. So I'll gladly answer whatever questions you guys want for as long as you want, because I had a late breakfast and feel good. But that's really it. Like I said, the chokes are expressions of the concept. That's what I want you to take away today is I get to an efficient way of squeezing that I can maintain for a minimum of 10 seconds. I use a structurally sound position there, and I just don't move. After 10 seconds, I have a checklist, run through my checklist, make a small change, do it again. So if you're practicing a move and you can't make it work on someone who's not actually resisting, then, or you need to flex on someone who's not resisting, you're never going to make it work on someone who is. So this is just a little algorithm for adjusting your chokes. It works on collar chokes. So for example, I don't like the guard collar choke very much. However, just by using this heuristic, I've been able to make that one good. So I'll actually have collar chokes. So I, for the longest time, absolutely despised the very first thing we all learned in Jiu-Jitsu. I hated this choke. I would do it because I was doing it wrong, obviously. Like most things in Jiu-Jitsu, like I hate it because you're doing it wrong. And so I would one thing I would do, I would grab the back of the collar like this because I want to be super deep. But look at my wrist. I've compromised my wrist. And then I would also come here and I would flare my elbows. I'm doing everything wrong. Like as many things as you can do wrong in this choke is what I'm doing.
And I would do this, and then after 3 seconds, doesn't work. So what changes did I make? I moved my hand down the side of his collar. Now I've got a straight wrist. And now, instead of flaring my elbows, I brought my elbows down to my sides. And I just hang out. I'm not squeezing very hard. I'm just going to hang out. Right? If it's not working, fine. I'll go a little further. And mind you, if you notice a characteristic of all the chokes I'm doing, none of them finish instantly. And that's on purpose. If I were to pour all in and squeeze as hard as I could finish much faster. But if I fail, now I'm gassed. So I'm reducing the risk that I'm taking. Is really what I'm doing by going halfway. Now, at the highest level, do guys dive into 100%? Of course they do, because the margins are so thin. But this style of doing things is trying to find the correct way of doing it. I can't hold for 10 seconds, it's wrong. I can later on choose, if I've gotten really good at this, to pour 100%, right, into this. And it's taking even longer because I'm bad at losing 100%. I'm way better at just hanging out here and maintaining, right? But ideally, if you've sharpened it up, you should be able to hit it instantly. So I'm showing you, this is literally probably my worst choke, and I'm not able to finish it. Because I hated this choke. And it's a basic one that most people love. Like most of your professors, if they're old school, they love this thing. Old school guys love this choke. I never liked it. But now I know how to finish it because of just using this little trick to self-diagnose my problems. So if I didn't give you anything, I want you guys to be able to help yourself. So you have a problem, ask your professor, but you should be able to also try and solve your own problems, right? Especially if you're a blue belt or higher, you should be able to solve some of your own problems. You shouldn't only need your professor. And then afterwards you can be like, hey professor, I had a problem. Here's how I fixed it. What do you think? Now you're having a conversation with your professor instead of just like begging for food. Please help me. All right? Make sense? Questions?
On key chokes, I know this is quite relevant to what you're discussing.
Yeah.
Bow and arrow and those
Yeah.
kind of chokes as well?
Mm-hmm.
Just, yeah.
Oh, I love bow and arrow, yes.
Yeah.
And so the key part of like this other thing, it's not about how I'm squeezing, but the idea of keeping a straight wrist is so important to all gi chokes. And, except for, I guess there's a couple of those, like the no-gi baseball bat where you have to compromise your wrist. There's a couple of those. But outside of that, I found that simply by making myself have a neutral or flexed wrist, all of them work better. So for the longest time, I was doing my bow and arrow chokes like this. You see how my wrist is already bending like this? And I'd be like, why isn't it working? And you can choke some people that way. That's what you say, you face the camera. Now, all I do instead is try and make sure the gi is doing the heavy lifting. So I don't want to get my hand all the way in your neck and have my wrist breaking. I'm gonna go down a little further. I'm gonna let this be straight and let it hit your neck. This is sharp. This is sharper than I am. It's thinner than I am. I want that to be doing the work. I want my wrist to be stable. So now when I come around here and I straighten my wrist, I can hang out and I'm gonna get what I want. I need to make it further. Here I am. And I didn't have to use any real amount of effort. How many times have you seen guys going on their bow and arrow, and the other guy's like, you can tell the other guy's in pain, but he doesn't want to tap. Why? Because he feels that you're trying to go Super Saiyan or something on him, and he's like, you're gonna gas out. You don't want to give your opponent hope. So in my opinion, steady pressure kills hope. If you feel that I'm squeezing just as hard now as I was 10 seconds ago, well then there's nothing in your mind that says anything's gonna change. I'm gonna be in this horrible place forever. And that makes you want to tap. Versus if you feel squeeze, let go, squeeze, let go, squeeze, let go. Okay, maybe he'll screw up and I'll get out. So I'm definitely, part of this is also playing the mind game with your opponent. You want them to think that whatever hell you've put them in is never going to end. So yeah, all the chokes, for me, it's keeping this and then adjusting my squeeze so that it's a low amount of effort. So that one I use my legs to keep you still and then straighten my back. But the actual mechanic I use isn't important as long as I've found the mechanic to be efficient for my body. Because there's chokes that are really efficient for maybe your body that won't be efficient for my body. Or chokes that are great for a giant guy's body that won't be efficient. Like, because I'm kind of in the middle. So there's things about me that are big guy moves and things about me that little guy moves. So I have like a hybrid style. But if you weigh 60 kilos, you're not going to have necessarily the same game as the guy who weighs 120 kilos. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any advice for hand fighting? Because I get on the back really well, but then I find that I don't necessarily all the way get up to the ledge, but then I've got 2-on-1 and
Yeah.
that kills me.
So, I don't have like a system, but I can recommend systems. So there's a few of them. So like John Danaher has the whole straitjacket system that he teaches that I think is really good. What I'm going to show you is something that I learned at the same Gary Tonin seminar that I was talking to you about. That was pretty cool. There's a lot of guys that have some pretty novel things. But like right now, the straitjacket system that's becoming more and more popular is the one where I'm probably going to butcher this, but they'll throw it wide and they'll end up capturing the arm. For whatever reason, this hasn't digested into my game. There's other ones where like they'll poke this out and they'll actually pull the arm all the way behind the back. Those are all really novel. The one that I do that works pretty good for me is kind of all about knowing that, so this, I guess the classic one first. I have my hand here, he's gonna grab the top hand, and then I'm like, yay, misdirection. In reality, it doesn't always work that well, right? So what I really care about now is I'm gonna try my best to start attacking his arm. Instead of trying to go for his neck, and so I'm going to climb his arm. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab his elbow. Anything below is enough. I'm going to grab his elbow like this and suck it across. And now I have this arm free. So now he only has one arm to grab. This arm's out of the game. So now when he grabs my hand, I have this arm. It's like, no. He grabs it again. No. And every time he commits to grabbing me, I'm going to push his knuckles with my palm and get a little deeper. Now I have a problem with his shoulder being here, so I need to adjust him. So now my hand is going to push his back. And I've gotten what I want. Now, he's being a really good uke, and so this is looking beautiful, like a magic. And a match, it doesn't look this pretty. In a match, it's a bit of a fight. But my main goal in the beginning is going to be to get to that elbow. And so what I'll do sometimes is I'll switch this around. So usually we're doing this, and then I'll come here and here. And he's going to grab with that arm. Palm and knuckles. I'm just constantly coming here. And my face is now going to help, right? Because he's looking at me. I don't like that. Don't look at me. Right? That's that idea. I call that plan A. That's what Gary Tonin taught. There's another 10th Planet guy named, screw his name up, Phil Swartz in Oregon. He has a whole system he teaches where he does a gable in the armpit. And so he treats his back control like it's an arm triangle. So he'll get up in here with a gable, palm up, and really just squeeze and put his face in here and hang out. And he's not necessarily going to hand fight yet. He just cares about not letting you out of here. So he'll even do this, try and escape. And my arm triangle will keep you here. Come arm triangle, I'm not doing a seatbelt. And there's nowhere to slip. Versus if I do a seatbelt, there's all this wiggle room. He hikes everything up into here and even uses so now I'm adding a detail from somebody else, uses the chin to bite the shoulder, and I hang out. Now this, I'm totally vulnerable to him poking me in the eye. I just have to rely on the fact that I'm in a situation where either I close my eyes and hope for the best, or that eye pokes are illegal.
You're keeping the one hand away with the elbow, with your elbow, leveraging.
You can do that as well. Occasionally even like you might use your leg, or you might take your head in here, right? These are all options, but you're never finishing this unless you have like 100-pound weight advantage on your partner. So, but it is a great pinch. I like hiding my hands because my hands are in his armpit. It's inconvenient for him to touch it with that hand, and for this hand, my face is in the way. So he can definitely get to my hands, but it's going to be hard. And I'm purposely just keeping him distracted and miserable because this is very unpleasant. And then whenever I feel good, I'm here. And now I've got my ledge. So it's two different strategies, right? Last time I was doing a climb and gradual. This time I just want to squeeze and maintain. And when I feel like he's so focused on thinking, because he's going to think he's free, because I don't have any hooks. He thinks he's free. And I'm using his false hope to get me what I want eventually. And this is the one where they transition straight into that abyss. So hand fighting is actually, in my opinion, much harder than finishing chokes. Once you have the choke, I actually have a really high success rate, but that hand fight from the back is definitely a skill. So I would look up the Danaher back attack, straight jacket system is gold. What I just showed you is pretty good as well. Craig Jones has like his nice kind of muffler system where he'll hang out right here and really just cover your mouth and nose until you panic. And when you panic, he comes across here and then he covers your mouth and nose and we'll rinse and repeat, continuing to make you miserable until he chokes you. He did it to this poor guy like 10 times in one match until he finally choked him. It was absolutely, I don't know how the guy survived so long. So that's another option. There's a lot of guys that are way better at that than me, so I'm just going to kind of punt and defer to those guys that are really good at hand fighting. But your approach is generally going to be either a slow, gradual attack or misdirection, right? If I get your focus so much on something else, then you hand me a golden path. So sadly, I'll next time I'll try and have a much cleaner answer for you, but that's the best I got today. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Arm triangles.
Yes, I'm so happy you asked. All right, so I love arm triangles. So this one I learned from a buddy in Tampa, Florida. His name is Joey. I wish I knew his last name so I could probably show him out, but just Joey from Tampa. He's a black belt. He weighs, I don't know, what's 120 pounds in kilos? Like 60?
No, it's
55.
He's a really little guy, and he chokes out heavyweights with this, and it's hilarious because he's so little, but he's like lightning. And the reason why is that almost all of our defenses to arm triangles involve using our elbow and arm and the power that they can generate. Yeah? And what he has done, he's found an efficient way of squeezing that he doesn't choke that arm. He chokes your armpit. And no matter how strong you are, you don't have a strong armpit from here. Your armpit is weak. It's just not a place, people don't practice flapping down, like, it's just not a thing that you have. Like from right here, he has a very strong, he can push his elbow, right? But through his armpit, he can't really stop my hand from pushing in that armpit no matter what he does. So all of your classic arm triangle defenses just don't work. And so then it also allows him to do exactly what I'm talking about. Just be still. In this situation also, I'm not flexing my right arm. My right arm is a rope. It's like just saying it's a rope. So there's more than one way of doing this. Actually, Chris Paynes does a similar version of this to Joey, but he's up on his knee. This one we're gonna be flat on our belly. So I'm here. I wanna have him right here, and I'm gonna pick him up. The transition that you can use if you're like, but how would I get there? If I'm going for a Kimura in north-south and I can't get it, I can very easily come to here. And now I have him on his side, just like I want him, and I'm ready to enter my triangle. Now, from right here, what do I need? Thing number one on these types of strangles, whether I find this in north-south, arm triangle, the slack you have at the beginning is going to kill you in the end. So I absolutely cannot have any slack between this side of his neck and my elbow. If there's any slack there at all, my technique is done. I'm never going to choke him in the end unless he panics or I trick him or like whisper in his ear like it's all over, like some sort of horrible mind game. I'm not finishing it. And so the first thing I do right here is I'm up, I'm driving into him with my foot. I'm going to pick his neck up and shove this as deep as I can. And this is going to work both gi or no gi, but I want to get rid of the slack. In gi, the folds of fabric will occasionally save him. So I want to really make sure that I don't have something too bulky saving his neck. I pick this up, I throw this in, and my hand is not going to come over here. This is what everyone thinks. His hand over here. Then I'm in a war. From right here, push with your hands. Just, I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to win this fight. I'm going to lose every time. So instead of coming straight across, I want to go diagonal down. So I pick this up, come down, push this diagonal down. Now the next thing is I need to slide my body back. So right now my head is even with his head. I'm going to take my hand like a web. We'll turn this way so everyone can see. My hand is like a web in his armpit. Like he has this nicely tight gi, so I have a nice seam showing me where the armpit begins and ends. It's beautiful. And so I'm going to push this up. Because if you look, beautiful blood flow. Less beautiful blood flow. So I'm here, I slide down, and I'm going to drag my shoulder into that space, and I want to edge up through until my face is on the floor like this. From right here, I put my hand out, and I slide until I'm flat. And then from right here, I'm going to walk a few angles, 1, 2, 3, and I can just hang out and choke with one hand. Now mind you, in a match, I would switch to a gable, but I'm not squeezing with the gable. The gable is just to survive his bridges. Because the only thing, and you're doing this in a match, is that they're going to bridge, and that's going to give them a gap because you don't have your hands closed. So in a match, I would switch this to this, but this hand must stay down. And they're going to bridge, and this is going to keep them from escaping with their bridge. But ideally, you should be able to do this with one arm. And it comes on fast. Little fun detail about this. If he has me in half guard, I can't enter it. But if I have it and he takes half guard, he chokes faster. So it's interesting. The order of operations matters. So like in half guard,
I will never get the angle I need. This is going to be really hard. Maybe I can, as Joe Rogan says, goon it, like just flex and pull it off when there's some BS. But I want to do this such that I can make it work on people bigger than me. I can't get this from this angle in half guard. At least I said, I can't. If you can, awesome for you. Teach me, please. But I personally can't. From here, same entry. I'm here. I get low, drop down, come back up, feeling good. Say that he starts taking half guard. Go ahead and take half guard. He's even worse off right now. He thinks that he's saved himself. He's actually angled himself to pass out faster. So what is the special thing about this? It's that I've just constantly look, artery, artery, chill. I don't need to crush anything. Just put my arms in the right place, such that they're digging into arteries, and I don't move. So I'm making sense. I'm just repeating the same thing over and over again. But that one is particularly fun because even on giant people, when your arm doesn't look pretty, it still works. Like I had a 300-pound guy, I had to try it on, and I was like previous guys, like this just might not work, and it did, and I was just like, holy crap, it worked. So that's it. That one you guys actually, any of those you guys want to practice? 'Cause I've talked a lot already. Try them, and I'll coach you. So there'll be the last thing, and then we'll take a photo, and then we'll call it a day. Hope you guys had fun. 1, 2, 3.